Have you guys ever actually watched back The Incredibles and thought about perhaps the message that it actually received? Today, guys, I wanted to react to a video today by Media Munchies, The Incredibles, How Society Conforms You. When this video came out, I watched it a few months after it came out, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So I've had this in my React Soon playlist for going on a year now. I have been excited to react to this, and I keep putting it off because, like, you know what? It's something I could always go back to. It's something that I could always end up watching. The story of The Incredibles, I look at so differently now after watching this video, and it's been long enough since I've watched this video where I feel like I can watch it for the first time. So today, we are going to be reacting to it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, let's watch this video together. I'm excited.
We're supposed to help people.
We're supposed to help our people! Starting with our stockholders, Bob. Who's helping them out, huh?
Isn't it crazy? Like, even just a line like that. Isn't it crazy, like, just applying that to the real world? And then, when we were kids, obviously, didn't think twice about it.
You know, Bob, a company
It's like an enormous clock.
is like an enormous Yes, precisely. It only works if all the little cogs mesh together.
And you need to keep those cogs nice and depressed, working, dependent, and then, you know, society can function. Or, I mean, like, the higher-ups of society can function.
Now, a clock needs to be clean, well lubricated, and wound tight.
You are not a clock, so start living like it. Someone once told me conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. Growing up, The Incredibles was one of my favorite movies. I mean, what child wouldn't be fascinated with the world of a superhero society?
You know what's funny is I liked these movies. Don't get me wrong. I liked these movies, but they weren't nearly some of my favorites growing up. I have such, and since I've watched this video long time ago, I have such a deeper appreciation for the story of The Incredibles.
But recently coming back to the movie, I realized it was a lot darker than I remember.
Yeah.
Of course, some people can relate that Syndrome is the main villain, yet I can argue there was another one. Let me explain. I think the real villain here is society. And if we look deeper into society, the real answer is conformity. So what is conformity? Conformity in society is when people change their behavior or beliefs to fit in with the group.
And you know that the vast majority of society has been doing that, especially like within the last decade, especially within the last decade, and it's only getting worse. You know, some people might sit down and tell you, no, there seems to be an actual pushback. No.
For example, dressing in business attire for a corporate job interview reflects conformity to professional expectations. It could also be as bad as your friends peer pressuring you to do certain drugs. When you give in to the expectations not of your own, that is called being conformed.
Yeah, and how many people do you know, and perhaps yourself, live like this? How many people live like this? The vast majority of society, I would go as far to say 99%. 99% of people live like this. They conform.
I want you
and to some extent, I'm not sitting here making this video talking about like, oh my God, I'm so much better than everybody else. No, I have to conform as well. I have to have the same opinions as the company that I work for. I have to have the same opinions. I have to have the same opinions in society in order to, like, you know, not like I have any outrageous opinions about anything, but, you know, like, you risk your safety. For a lot of people, like, people are only getting more and more radical as time goes on too.
Pay attention to the intro interviews of The Incredibles.
No matter how many times you save the world, it always manages to get back in jeopardy again. I mean, sometimes I just want it to stay saved, you know, for a little bit. I feel like the maid. I just cleaned up this mess. Can we keep it clean for 10 minutes?
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? It's wild to look back on as an adult. It's absolutely insane. This movie is so much more, like, in-depth, and props to the writers, man. Whoever made this video too, like Media Munchies, I personally should watch more of their content because I remember, like, watching this particular video. Very, very well said, this entire thing.
Sometimes I think I just like the simple life, you know, relax a little and raise a family.
Settle down, are you kidding? I'm at the top of my game. I'm right up there with the big dogs. Girls, come on. Leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so.
If you watch The Incredibles, you know this is far from truth over time. Helen, aka Elastic Girl, thinks it's time to move on from the past and just focus on their family dynamic. Bob, on the other end, is out here trying to relive the glory days.
And again, this is a simple struggle that how many people do you know actually, like, live? Whether you're in a marriage or not. It happens from both single people and normal people. Like, there's people that like, okay, it's time to settle down. There's people like, no, I don't want to settle down. I want to relive the glorious days. I want to go back to when I was happy.
But you have to ask yourself, why is it like this in the first place now? Mr. Incredible saved a dude that was trying to take his own life. This was soonly interrupted when Bon Voyage was near. A younger version of Syndrome appears and tries to get Mr. Incredible, but gets a bomb attached to his cape. Mr. Incredible, being the hero he is, goes after Buddy to try to save him. Bomb goes off and accidentally blows up a part of a train track. Now it's up to Mr. Incredible to use his strength to try to stop the incoming train. Of course, he saves the day, but the aftermath was a little unexpected.
Yep. And hang on. I'll let this play, okay?
In a stunning turn of events, a superhero is being sued for saving someone.
Is this not society? Think about it for a second. If superheroes were real, would this not be the exact case of like how society would treat people? And everybody would get behind it too, because what would be not allowed to say is, guys, what's going on? Mr. Incredible saved somebody. Why are we talking about suing him? That person would have to risk their own safety because they might get followed home. They might have to risk their family's lives by just saying someone. They would have to conform. How crazy is that? How accurate is that? That would be the case. 1000%. Somebody could do something so great and all of a sudden he's just the villain.
Who apparently didn't want to be saved. The plaintiff, Oliver Sansweet, who was foiled in his attempted suicide by Mr. Incredible, has filed suit against the famed superhero in Superior Court.
Yup. That's exactly what would happen, guys. Like, this video changed the entire way that I view The Incredibles.
Mr. Sansweet didn't ask to be saved. Mr. Sansweet didn't want to be saved. And the injury received from Mr. Incredible's actions, so-called, causes him daily pain.
Hey, I saved your life.
You didn't save my life, you ruined my death. That's what you
Listen,
My
you
client has
little
no further comment.
The aftermath of this event sparked the anti-superhero era. Apparently, superheroes are harming people more than they're doing good.
Yeah,
and
you could have people, and you know what? If you were to talk about like an Avengers situation where people are like the Hulk's running through buildings and stuff, yeah, you know what? Then you have an argument. For somebody like Mr. Incredible, you know, things happen, but ultimately he is saving people daily, multiple people daily. This is what would happen.
It's costing taxpayers millions of dollars. For an early 2000s Pixar movie, the contact matter is actually pretty heavy. In society, the biggest weapon of conformity is the law. Some laws are very good and need to be in place, while others can be biased and wrong.
I don't know if I would say it's law, man. I don't know if I would say it's law. I might say social media. I would say influence. But like that, absolutely, like that's a huge weapon of conformity. But I would say it's social media. All you have to do is convince the NPCs to think a certain way, and then all of a sudden they'll do all the attacking for you.
We have people who are set in place to enforce these laws, and if you don't follow them, you will be punished. Mr. Incredible saves a man from suicide and is scrutinized and sued. It highlights how societal norms can sometimes punish individuals for doing the right thing, especially if it goes against established expectations and rules.
Absolutely. I will use myself as an example where I live in Canada, and I'm not going to go super in depth with it, but our self-defense laws are essentially don't do anything. Like, you can get a little bit more into that, right? I'm at the point where I would seriously think about it if I were to see someone getting attacked. Like if I was walking, like I take my dog for a stroll every day. If I was doing that and I saw someone getting attacked, I'm at the point where I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm just going to be honest. I highly doubt I'd do anything. I'd look straight and get out of the situation. Because all of a sudden I would be the bad guy. What? And I'm a very capable fighter. If you're new to the channel over here, I've done martial arts my entire life. One of my biggest passions is MMA sparring. I'm completely comfortable in a fight. And I know that I could beat the vast majority of people on this, not on this planet maybe, but you know what I mean. Like the vast majority of the common people in a fight. I don't think I would do anything. I'd be shocked like if I were to actually step in, because I'm not going to risk my entire life. I'd be the bad guy. All of a sudden you knock someone out, their head smashes off the ground, no matter like but he was trying to assault this person, you know, like using nice terms, like, you know, assaulting a woman. Yeah, he was trying to do this, but all of a sudden my life is completely ruined and now I have to go to jail for the rest of my life just because like I separated somebody from their consciousness. Like that's something that you have to seriously worry about, and that is the same thing that would happen if superheroes were real.
Fast forward 15 years later, we see Mr. Incredible working a dead-end office job that is generally sucking the life out of him. For the writers to have Mr. Incredible at the highest levels of fame and notoriety to now working a boring office job gives a really good perspective on how dull your life can actually get. I think the ironic thing about this scene is that it goes against Mr. Incredible's moral code. He's known for saving and helping people. There's no way he could scam an old lady out of insurance. Even if it's against company policy, he still strives to do the right thing.
Yeah, but what's he forced to do essentially? What's he forced to do essentially? And how many people do you know that are in the workforce too, feeling like Mr. Incredible, feeling that they could do more, but you can't do more. You're conformed.
You authorized payment on the Walker policy?
Someone broke into their house, Mr. Huff. Their policy clearly covers him against
I don't want to know
any
about their
litigation.
coverage, Bob. Don't tell me about their coverage. Tell me how you're keeping Insuracare in the black. Tell me how that's possible with you writing checks to every Harry Hardluck and Sally sob story that gives you a phone call.
I don't know if anybody else has dealt with insurance, but I'm not going to go into like the details. I remember when I was like 10ish years ago, our house flooded. Like at the time I was living with my parents, our house flooded. I lost, my room was in the basement. I lost so much. You might, depending on whether or not you've dealt with something like this, you would be shocked at the amount of money that we've got compared to lost.
Like it or not, money is the second biggest tool to conform someone. We all know the saying, money makes the world go round. And this is one of the truest statements that can ever be said. Some of the laws and policies in the real world are all structured about profits. And you, my friend, live in a society where you need it to survive. You see, the boss can treat Mr. Incredible however he wants because at the end of the day, he writes his check. Throw in that Bob has a family and more expenses that he has to take care of. Bob has a little ethical dilemma on his hand.
Not even necessarily a little bit. He's trapped. He's trapped. And I know you might be coming down to say, oh, well, you can leave that job. You can actually leave that job. You're not forced to stay at the job. You're not forced. Yeah, you are. You're wrong. I don't care about your technicality. You're forced to stay at that job.
And this is something a lot of people face. Are you willing to step over the next person to gain financial prowess? We get a sad little reality shot of what it looks like for a lot of people. Bob is in a tiny car at a job he doesn't like and his life is going down a hill. A couple seconds later, we find out that Dash is getting in trouble at school for doing harmless pranks with his powers. Dash is only acting out because he wants to play sports and his mom won't allow him because he has powers. This leads to a common theme and conversation that's later brought into the movie.
You always say, do your best, but you don't really mean it. Why can't I do the best that I can do?
Right now.
Isn't it insane? Isn't it insane? Looking back on this as an adult, or at least someone like more intelligent than when you first like this movie came out, like when you were a kid. Insane. I'm fascinated by this story now.
Oh, honey, the world just wants us to fit in, and to fit in, we just gotta be like everybody else.
But Dad always said our powers were nothing to be ashamed of. Our powers made us special.
Everyone's special, Dash.
Which is another way of saying no one is.
Just like Syndrome, eh? Just like Syndrome. When everybody's super, nobody is.
If this sounds familiar in any way, it's because Syndrome basically said the same thing.
And when I'm old and I've had my fun, I'll sell my inventions so that everyone can be superheroes. Everyone can be super. And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Yeah, and that's, you know what's crazy too, is that people would be doing this if superheroes actually existed. There would be a Syndrome absolutely just trying to take everybody down because he can't handle somebody being better than him.
This offers a really sad reality about society. Most of us are confined in a box. It's either you're special or you're not, or you actually are special and society tells you you're not. A good example of this is when Bob goes back to his boss' office.
A company
It's like an enormous clock.
is like an enormous Yes.
And you know what's crazy too is you have somebody like the boss over here trying to scam people for their money, and an actual good person, Mr. Incredible, and Mr. Incredible Mr. Incredible is better than him in every single shape and form. But Mr. Incredible is forced to conform. Isn't that insane? It's fascinating how it's worked. It's fascinating. It's like we were talking about, like, I know he kind of got past the point, but with money, you're given just enough money to survive. Just enough. Not more, not less. Just enough to survive and keep going and working in that clog.
Precisely. It only works if all the little cogs mesh together.
You don't have to be in the clock. And if you are, make it a clock that you enjoy. Not all of us can be professional sports players or celebrities or billionaires, but everyone has something that makes them special.
And for me personally, while I don't really... I can't say that I go to work enjoying myself every day. I have a very positive outlook on life. Like, I have a very, very great life outside of work. I look forward to the day. I do my best to enjoy it. Like, what I lucked out, and I understand not everybody's in that situation where I work by myself. I can be alone with my thoughts. I can, I'm not going to go into the details exactly, but I'm by myself and I feel a certain aspect of freedom with my job, and I appreciate that. And I'm doing everything I can to be able to work online to something that I actually do enjoy.
While listening to the boss ramble on about following in line, Bob noticed something that he can't overlook. It seems to be that the person outside is getting mugged. Bob has a choice to either help the person or potentially get fired from his boss. The person ends up getting harmed anyway, and Bob comes to the conclusion that saving people is more important than his corporate job. At this point, Mr. Incredible is extremely depressed and doesn't know how he's going to break to his family that he let them down.
And now for the people who actually do act like Mr. Incredible, not everybody has superpowers like Mr. Incredible. Not everybody can kind of have a fix like that. If you were to act like that, your life would be ruined, and there is very little way out for most people.
He's not paying attention to the things around him, and he's getting very angry about things he can't control. When Frozone arrives, Mr. Incredible's mood changes. He's excited and has a new burst of energy out of nowhere. This is because this is the only night where he can actually do what he truly wants to do, and that's saving people. When he leaves, we can finally get a glimpse of what's going on into the kids' minds.
Now, it's perfectly normal.
Normal? What do you know about normal? What does anyone in this family know about normal?
Now, wait a minute, young lady.
We act normal, Mom. I want to be normal. The only normal one is Jack Jack, and he's not even toilet trained.
It's also crazy because back in the day, I laughed at this. This video swapped my mind on it like crazy. So guys, the links will be in the pinned comment description down below to go support the creator of this video. And I suggest anybody watching this video, I know that we're not going to get a lot of any viewers because at the time of creating this video, this channel's still a little bit in its infancy over here, but in time, this video will pop off. So I suggest you go show as much support as possible.
Lucky. Oh, I meant about being normal.
I don't believe that they actually want to be normal. I think this stems from not being able to express their true selves, so now they wish they never had their powers to begin with. When Mr. Incredible gets caught for his out night patrol, the way the argument between these two was so well put, you can feel for both sides.
Tell me you haven't been listening to the police scanner again.
Look, I performed a public service. You act like that's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing, Bob. Uprooting our family again so you can relive the glory days is a very bad thing.
Reliving.
As he just said, there's merit to both sides of this argument.
In the glory days is better than acting like they didn't happen.
You see, since Bob is married and has kids, he has a new way of living life. He can't just be selfish and put himself above others because that would be wrong to his family. So Helen does have a point.
I can't believe you don't want to go to your own son's graduation.
It's not a graduation. He is moving from the 4th grade to the 5th grade.
Sorry. How many people have dealt with this type of thing? Dude, the best thing my brother and I have ever did is oh my God, my dad was so mad, which we didn't know, but we didn't tell him because when we were younger, we didn't really think that we needed to we didn't see the big deal in it. And to be honest with you, I'm still kind of the opinion where it's not necessarily a big deal. My brother and I shook hands. We're like, I don't go to my graduation. You don't go to your graduation. To sit there in that chair. And my dad was pissed, dude.
The ceremony.
It's psychotic. They keep creating new ways to celebrate mediocrity, but if
boom, boom, right there. Oh, deep, man.
Someone is genuinely exceptional.
This is not about you, Bob. This is about Dash.
This is one of Mr. Incredible's biggest flaws. Just because he has powers and he's deemed as special to others doesn't mean he gets to determine what makes someone else special. And this is going to come back to bite him later.
You want to do something for Dash? Then let him actually compete. Let him go out for sports.
I don't know if I disagree. I agree when it comes to like this point in the argument. Mr. Incredible's completely right.
Not be made the enemy here. You know why we can't do that.
Because it'd be great.
This is not about you.
Later, Mr. Incredible gets a secret message about a potential job. This will allow him to do what he wants to do the best, save lives and get back into action. Without hesitation, he's willing to do it, not even knowing who the money is coming from and what the boss is going to have him to do.
But again, he needs the money. He can't break the news. He just fired. He has to conform no matter what. At this time, it was just like a positive conformity.
As long as it's not the office job. After a couple of change of events, we finally get to see Mr. Incredible happy. He's going around showing affection and spending time with his kids, and everything is brighter. This is all because he finally has an outlet to be who he wants to be again.
And that's true, like not even for just people like Mr. Incredible, but for men. Men need an outlet. You can't consistently, well actually you can, all you have to do is like have them addicted to their own lust, constantly touching themselves, expelling all of their energy, and you know, addicted to drugs, addicted to food, making them weak, making them sluggish. No, they can do that. They can't do that, and they've done that. But I meant like for any normal person who doesn't have those types of issues. Sorry. For any normal person who doesn't have those types of issues, all men absolutely need an outlet, and you can see a change in their behavior. And I didn't know this until I experienced this. One of the reasons why my mom let me get into martial arts was to give me an outlet. I fought other men to get a release for that testosterone. I had a lot of anger issues growing up. That fixed it completely, 1000%. I have true experience with that. And my mom is like the smartest person in the world for recognizing that.
We later find out that Syndrome is behind all of these shenanigans. I wanted to wait to talk about Syndrome because him and Mr. Incredible aren't that very different. As society told Mr. Incredible that he's no longer needed and he should just try to fit in, Mr. Incredible did the opposite to Syndrome. You see, when we're first introduced to Syndrome, he's a bubbly little kid who's genuinely Mr. Incredible's biggest fan. He wants to be like him and even named himself Incrediboy. Mr. Incredible then scolds him and decides to kick him out of the car because who is this kid? The next time we see him is when Mr. Incredible is fighting Bon Voyage. Syndrome invented some rocket boots, so that's how he's able to get around so quick. Still trying to impress Mr. Incredible by showing that he doesn't need superpowers to be special, he gets this response.
Can we talk? You always say be true to yourself, but you never say which part of yourself to be true to.
And again, diving in so deep into this entire story, I look at it so differently now. And I didn't enjoy it that much as a kid. And I'm sorry that I keep saying that. I know that I keep saying that. But it's just fascinating how one really well-made video can change your opinion on this.
Well, I finally figured out who I am, and I am your ward. Incrediboy!
And now you have officially carried it too far, buddy.
Oh! This is because I don't have powers, isn't it? Well, not every superhero has powers, you know. You can be super without them. I invented these. I can fly. Can you fly?
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
Oui, état tenu complètement ridicule. Just give me one chance. I'll show you. I'll go get the police.
But he's like, he's right for like not wanting to work with a kid, but I don't think that was the issue with Mr. Incredible there. We'll dive in a little bit like off topic for this specifically.
No! It'll only take a second, really.
No, stop!
As you know, after this was the event that caused the train to explode, leading to the downfall of superheroes, basically. This offers a very interesting perspective because Mr. Incredible is in the right here, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying he's wrong for not accepting Syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he did too much. It's not right to have a kid on these dangerous missions over here, so he's right in saying that, like, Mr. Incredible was in the correct, but it's interesting about the turnout.
What I can argue is the neglect on his intelligence. He didn't have to, but maybe a check-in on Syndrome would have prevented all of this in the future. I mean, creating rocket boots at a young age has to have some type of upside, and I also think his word choices could have been a little nicer.
Be here, made sure of that.
Incrediboy!
You're not affiliated with me.
It's understandable for him to react the way he was, just as it was said, but I understand the point, and he's ignoring any sort of, like, you know, like, any element of being special from someone else. It's been completely ignored, it's been shattered, and look how that ended up spinning around and changing the world.
Holy smokes, I'm late.
When they interact with each other 15 years later, you can tell Syndrome has been waiting for this moment all his life.
After you trashed the last one, I had to make some major modifications. Sure, it was difficult, but you are worth it. I mean, after all, I am your biggest fan.
What could have been used to benefit society has been turned around and used just for anger, and that was the fault of Mr. Incredible, because a child is not capable of changing in that sense. He needs some sort of direction.
Buddy?
My name is not Buddy! And it's not Incrediboy either! That ship has sailed. All I wanted was to help you. I only wanted to help! And what did you say to me?
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
You see, the results of Mr. Incredible made Syndrome realize that he isn't special. Society only views people with superpowers to be special.
But he was special. It just wasn't the same kind of special. And that's why the story's so fascinating.
His intelligence couldn't match. This is what drives him to take out all superheroes.
I'm sorry.
See? Now you respect me. Because I'm a threat. That's the way it works.
You see, this statement, "now you fear me because I'm a threat," offers a very interesting perspective. This invites a moral reflection on the nature of respect and authority.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would argue, like, you want to take, like, I don't know if he's going to go back into it. It's, like I said, it's been a long time since I watched this video. If you want to talk about all of the cogs in the wheel, I don't know if you're going to drive it back to that point. A threat is somebody who is self-aware. But do they respect that threat? I don't necessarily know.
In a broader social context, this statement can critique how societies and systems awfully only respond to marginalized or oppressed groups when they become a threat, the status quo, rather than addressing their needs and rights proactively and respectfully. Who's to say if Mr. Incredible paired Syndrome up with another superhero that would have suited his abilities, he wouldn't have turned out the way he did? You see, when Mr. Incredible escaped Syndrome, he ended up coming back into the lair and discovering something he shouldn't have. We get to see a scale of all the superheroes Syndrome had wiped out.
I forgot about that. And it just goes to show like how dangerous, you know, and how many times has this been done too? To even just young people. I'm not talking about like to the extent of Syndrome, where so many people show such passion, interest, happiness, potential, especially. How many people kind of like get that beat out of them? How many people, and you know, younger and younger, and I talk about some other channels, younger and younger kids nowadays are getting addicted to adult content. There is no greater way to, you know, beat the enthusiasm out of somebody into getting them addicted to e-girls.
Syndrome had been using the same method that he used on Bob in order to bring him in. This shows that all the retired superheroes were dealing with the same thing Bob was going through, depressed and wanted to get back in action also. A couple minutes later, watching the Incredibles finally use their powers as a family is really wholesome, because you watch them discover things about their powers while working together that they wouldn't have found out if they were still back in the city. Of course, Syndrome had to put an end to all of this. The last stretch of the movie is really gold. Syndrome is getting ready to drop the robot into the field, and we can finally see how crazy Syndrome actually is.
Yeah, and what caused him to be crazy? He was special, he had potential, he wanted to use it for good, but that was beat out of him. And I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, you know, the the fallen hero like Koba from the Planet of the Apes. No, I'm not talking about the fallen hero or anything like that. It's just like, it's understandable for him to turn out the way that he has turned out. And I would imagine that you could trace some sort of event like this, not necessarily comparable to, you know, like somebody wanting to be a superhero. You can trace a lot of like crazy people, dangerous people. You can trace it back to something that happened in their childhood.
He's so desperate to prove to society that he's a hero and worthy of love and affection, that he's willing to fake it and doesn't care about how much damage he causes.
Hope is lost. Syndrome will save the day. I'll be a bigger hero than you ever were.
You mean you killed off real heroes so that you could pretend to be one?
Oh, I'm real. Real enough to defeat you! And I did it without your precious gifts, your oh-so-special powers.
At this point, Syndrome doesn't even need the robot to be a superhero. His intelligence and his inventions could pass as one anyways.
Yeah, I don't even think that he needs to pass as one, really. If you convince society enough, you kind of are. You know, what else did they know? They know Syndrome the hero. So I guess like it doesn't technically make him a hero, but you get my point. He's a hero.
I think the robot plan is way deeper for him. I don't know if anybody else get these vibes, but the whole battling an AI robot that learns new moves and stuff like that kind of reminds me of the current day of age we're living in now. With AI on the rise now, I can't stop to think about how many jobs are going to be displaced in the future. Society has a very funny way to show you what's in and what's out and who's not needed anymore. After they defeat the robot and they rush home to see what's going on with Jack, Syndrome is there. And if you ask me, he's about to commit one of the most diabolical acts there could be. He's willing to take Jack just so he can raise him as his own apprentice.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? And this is where they cross the line. It's interesting, again, because you have somebody who had so much potential, someone who's so happy, someone who wanted to use their powers for good or use their intelligence for good, and they become the ultimate corrupted, evil person. I always think about the potential of so many people, like so many people that turned out to be so bad. And again, I'm not making any defense for them, because like, I would want nothing but, you know, the ultimate type of punishment for somebody like Syndrome. If he were to actually exist, I would want nothing but, you know, you get my point, okay? You get my point. There's no looking into it and be like, oh, but what about what happened to his childhood? What about that? It's just, you recognize that it happens.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be a good mentor. Supportive, encouraging. Everything you weren't. And in time, who knows? He might make a good sidekick.
Some might say, and I of course would never suggest such a thing, some might say this could be a message about how important father figures could be in somebody's life. Perhaps Syndrome didn't have something like that.
Hypothetically speaking, if Syndrome was to successfully raise Jack, I think he would have raised him as deeming his superpowers as not special. This will probably result into Jack hating his powers and seeing it more of a burden than being beneficial. And you see,
wow,
Syndrome,
I never actually thought about that. That's probably, oh, we need to do an Incredibles what if. That'd be wild.
His death was kind of ironic because he wanted the glitz and the glamour of being a superhero. That's why he rocks a cape. And by portraying this act, he died like a lot of the superheroes with this same attribute. I can't help but to think that this is the writers foreshadowing his stupidity. I think the end of the movie did a really good job showing that the Incredibles are done hiding their powers. They are now coming into the facts of who they are, and society can't stop them.
Yeah, but this is the problem. This is where you get into the Disney Pixar unrealistic standard, because if somebody were to stand up and somebody with superpowers were actually stand up and do some good, society would just crumble them immediately. They'd start getting sued like we saw at the beginning of the movie. That is not possible.
I mean, unless the government really wanted to. I want to end this video by saying...
Oh, sorry. I just clued into what he had to say.
To put yourself in a box. Think big and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Even if you feel like sometimes you're trapped by your environment, trust me, if you keep fighting for what you want, there's a way out.
There's always a way out. You do not have to be the miserable person that Mr. Incredible is. The way out is extremely difficult compared to back in the day, but there has also never been more opportunity. I'm personally finding my way through some sort of online work, not even necessarily just YouTube, but there is other stuff that I've been doing. I'm not going to get into exactly what I'm doing in my life, but I'm doing everything I can to not live my life, you know, barely making it by. And there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always potential. And I thought this was an absolutely incredible video. So guys, please check the pinned comment, description down below. Go show the channel some love. And if you already happen to be subscribed to Media Munchies, then you can check out this video. Sorry if there was a little bit of a lag on screen there on my end. My apologies. Then why don't you check out this video on screen right here, where we react to another in-depth plot video. We would love to have you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody.